up with Action and install a new Bradford white water heater in your home. And if we win the conference championship this season, you'll get a full refund. Don't fumble this opportunity. Sack your old water heater this season and score big with Action. Visit actionlincoln.com/Huskers to learn more.
Promotion valid for a limited time. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
There's nothing quite like the Mercado by Certified Piedmontese beef. The Mercado offers unique ingredients you can't find anywhere else, open every day from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. The full-service butcher shop and retail store is wonderful for meat lovers with their exclusive certified Piedmontese beef and assorted sausages, plus other quality meats, including pork, chicken, and a wide range of the freshest seafood. Plus, every Friday from 11 to 2, the Mercado serves up the best lunch in town on their Friday Feast menu. Stop in at the Mercado today at 84th and Havelock or visit their website at cpmercado.com to see current deals. Are you looking to get into the electrical construction industry or wanting a new scene? The electrical workers of Local Union 265 are now hiring licensed journeymen and apprentices and are offering great pay and benefits. Call Mike at 402-875-1034 to apply. Start your electrical career today.
Big box stores are tempting for buying equipment for your high schooler in sports or for yourself in your sports leisures. But buying new is awfully expensive. Why not go somewhere with new and used options? Play It Again Sports has quality, slightly to gently used equipment, and 50% of their inventory is actually new equipment. And it's more than baseball, softball, and golf. They also have equipment for disc golf, fitness, hockey, and more. Plus, they're always buying products. Bring your gear you're done with and get trade money on the spot. Play It Again Sports at 48th and Vine.
Football season is nearly here, and your long wait for year 2 of Matt Rule is almost over. Gear up for the season with 93.7 The Ticket's coverage of Big Ten Media Days from July 23rd to the 25th, live from Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis. Jay Foreman, Amon Green, Adam Carricker, Chancellor Brewington, Derek Pearson, Steve Sipple, Jake Sorensen, and Nick Sainer will be in Indy for our shows Tuesday through Thursday. Getting the latest news from Nebraska and everyone else around the conference. Coverage of Big Ten Media Days is brought to you by 1890 Nebraska, Stevens and Smith Construction, The Complex, Warhorse Casino, and Riddle's Jewelry. Old School with DP and J.
There's California money, and it's a different kind of money. Hollywood money just is spent differently because it's turned over and created so in full. And oh, by the way, it's the right kind of money when it comes to, because we're in the era now of name, image, and likeness. Mm-hmm. And the California schools have that better than everybody else.
93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Early break with Sip and Jake.
I'd like Bill to be say next to you, so when you say on 3, he goes,
that'd be awesome. That would be Steve Sipple on 3. You should be there just for that.
That's all I said for 3 days.
Kirk Francis, Steve Sipple from the Husker Online on 3 Network.
Early break with Sip and Jake from 6 to 8 every weekday morning on 93.7 The Ticket. It's time to play Shootout with Strick. Why wait until Friday to start your weekend?
Go ahead, start right now.
You're thirsty now, and 93.7 The Ticket is here to help you stock up.
Just in time for the weekend when I like to hit the clubs.
Time to broaden your horizons and try some new wine and beer. It's Thirsty Thursday with Kevin Meyer from Meyer's Cork and Bottle.
What do you call it? What do you call it? Snapcrackle and the...
That's a clicky for Stricky. Is what that is.
It was something crazy. I love it.
Gentlemen.
Kevin Meyer, Meyer's Cork and Bottle. Welcome in.
Been missing my favorite radio, fellas. We weren't on the air last week. You guys were doing something without me. I don't remember what it was.
Where were we last?
I think you were at Pinnacle last week.
Yes. Carnegie State Games kickoff.
Yes.
Before that,
Rose going?
Before that, I was
4th
here.
of July. No, we have 4th of July.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, so it has been a good three weeks.
It has. How was your 4th?
It was nice. We didn't do much. We went over to the in-laws and it's kind of a war zone all over town these days. And I live out in the country. It's normally quiet and it was loud even out there. And so, it was one of those deals where they kept me up and I had to go to work the next day. So I wasn't really feeling it, but that's all right.
Do you have in-laws, not outlaws, or are you the outlaw?
I'm probably the outlaw. Yeah, I think that's fair to say. Yeah. Yep. You guys want to do the wine first or the beer first?
You're the expert. You tell us.
Let's do the wine first because I've never had this and I don't want the beer to screw it up. So, because the beer we're doing is a hoppy beer, even though I said it on the air that I lost my because I'm happy. I lost my taste for hops. This one I like, but so this is a brand new Vinho Verde. It's called Las Lilas, and it's from Portugal.
Yeah, it does not look green to me.
It's not, but they use the term green like meaning young. So like you ever watch Deadliest Catch, and the guys that are new on the boats, they're called a greenhorn. Yep. Okay. Yep. So the Vinho Verde is just it means young wine, and it can be made in red, white, or rosé. And it's made of a grape that's unique to Portugal, and I couldn't memorize it, so I had to write it down. It's called Espadeiro. And so basically this is made from the red grape, but into a pink wine. So they allow just a little bit of skin. What, Austin Orman?
No, that's maceration.
That is maceration. And they come in at a light 11%. And it's got a little bit of effervescence to it. Very fresh, kind of a chuggle.
That's a band.
What's a band?
Effervescence.
Yeah.
Evanescence. It's Evanescence.
Evanescence.
Yeah.
Oh.
But if there was a definition of patio pounder, it would be this.
Yeah, this
is
good,
smooth
man.
like that.
Yeah, this is on and popping here.
This gets you in trouble. You sitting at home and you think you just, lightweight, and then all of a sudden, pow.
Yeah, it'll sneak up on you.
Mike Tyson uppercut.
It almost is like a dry wine cooler. It's so light.
Yeah.
That's good. And it goes good with this sandwich.
Yeah, I bet it does.
Yeah.
You got a little chicken salad there? Is that what's going on? My wife picked
From
up
the mill.
From the mill? My wife picked up one of those $4.99 rotisserie chickens from Costco and made a massive batch of chicken salad with it and had the dried cranberries and the shaved. Oh man, I ate that all week. It was so good. So good.
Scrumdiddly-yumptious.
And where did they get it? They got a whole batch of what?
So at Costco, they have pre-cooked whole chickens you can buy for $5.
Really?
Yeah, and they're delicious.
You ain't been up on that?
Oh man,
and your $1.25 hot dogs.
Yeah,
you just go in and buy it, and you can do it. Just cut it. And...
Yeah, and it's all cooked.
Hey, Strick, and
marinated
and it's not like if you go to like a grocery store, you get the little ones. These are some big ones, man.
Really?
Oh yeah.
And they're $5. It's unbelievable.
$5 take care of you all week. I know you do the meal prep and stuff. You'll be good to go.
Okay.
Yeah.
We made a huge batch of the chicken salad, and then I even had some of the mushier pieces I just saved for the dog, so he can have some treats. But yeah. Say what? What?
I look like you. Can I borrow your Costco card?
Costco?
Oh, yeah. We're practically twins.
Costco.
Yeah, we look alike.
Yeah. Aren't you a famous basketball player?
Don't you love Costco, Kevin?
I do. I secretly do. My wife and I go on Costco dates, and
heck yeah,
it's 9 times out of 10 we don't need anything.
Let me ask you this.
All right.
Is there's nothing better for a grill master? I know you're a grill master. Is when you get free reign to go in the meat department. Is that true? Are you like that?
I go immediately straight to the prime.
Yeah.
And
that's my dude, man.
And I look for the thing about Costco Prime though is that especially if you're going tenderloin, you'll get 2 really good cuts and then you'll get 2 end cuts. But occasionally, if you're patient, you can get 4 middle cuts, and that's you take those and run. Yeah, that's the real deal.
You got to take your time. You got to do some digging, and sometimes you got to play some stuff. And then if you want to come back, and then just because you got to go and walk and think about it a little bit, then you come back to know where you're. I hide it. Oh, if there's a sale on like Prime, I'll hide it like 3 or 4 deep. Go get something, think about it, make sure I can get it, come back. I love Sam's Club and Costco.
I'm the same way. I'm a sucker for that stuff.
See, I've always been a Sam's guy. That's where my family went growing up. And then we had a Costco on the south side when I lived down there. We're back up north. So I'm Sam's through and through.
Yeah. I like both.
They're not that much different fundamentally. I don't know. I feel like the quality of help though at Costco is better than it is overall at Sam's. So I like good
But they're
service.
both good. I like them both.
You guys are also, I assume, talking about the 84th and Highway 2 Sam's?
I am.
I haven't been there in forever, so I can't really say.
Well, your boy's at North 27th Sam's, so
yeah.
It's live and popping up where you
yeah, I bet
hey, I'm going to he in the club over there. Yeah.
They play a different kind of music while you're shopping.
Oh yeah,
that's my people.
Yeah, yes, sir. This is good, Kevin, man.
It is good.
This is really good, man.
These are on the shelf for $15, brand new to the store, has a good looking label. You know, say you're on a date with your girl or you want to do a picnic or something like that. This would be a perfect wine.
Hey, speaking of wine, 10, 15, 20 in effect. Is that correct?
That is, it is absolutely correct. So it's our summer wine sale. So mix and match any 3 regularly priced wines, you save 10%. Mix and match any 6, save 15%. And mix and match a dozen, save 20%. So it's basically an extra 5% discount above and beyond what we used to do.
And that's been going on for a week, as you've been telling people. When does it run through?
I believe it runs through a week from Sunday.
Sunday.
So it'll go about another 10 days.
Perfect. Kevin Meyer, Croker's Bottle, 13th and South, 10, 15, 20 summer wine sale. Let's move on to the beer then. A little hoppy thing.
Little hoppy thing. Local, too. And I'll try not to last time I was here, I spilled my wine on the thing. Jay had my back. Thank you again, Jay.
Yeah,
I appreciate you.
We've all done that, man.
We've all been there.
So I'm attempting to focus on my movements while I'm talking at the same time. So this is local from Corn Coast Brewing right here in good old Lincoln, Nebraska, over there at about 14th and Yankee Hill Road. And this is a hazy IPA called Party Wave. Party Wave. So just came in the store today. Super fresh. Like I said, for the longest time, pretty much the only kind of beer I drank were IPAs. And I sort of burnt out on them. And so I haven't been doing it a whole lot, but I really like theirs. They're usually a little bit fruitier, lightly sweet with a little bit of lactose, but not over the top. And they're just good drinkable IPAs. So I thought I'd bring one in. Little yang dang in there.
Yeah, hoppy, but when you said it was hoppy, I expected more.
It's not bitter.
It's not bitter at all.
Yeah, and I think that's probably what leans me more to their IPAs versus other kinds.
I like this.
It's more of a juicy, fruitier style of hop versus that bitter, piney style.
The hops hit the nose. Like I smelled it just to see what you were talking about, and I got the hops hit my nose. But
I like this one.
Relative to the smell,
it smells pretty good.
Relative to the smell, lower hops than I would have anticipated.
It's just a different technique, and it also depends on the type of hop because different hops will lend different flavors into the wine, and it all comes from what's known as their lupulin glands, which are these little tiny yellow beads. And a hop kind of looks like a small pine cone, and they're about the size of your thumb. And if you break them open, there's these little tiny yellow beads in there, and they're sticky, and that's what gives the hop its character. And so they are grown and sort of bred to give the beers different nuances. And so, like I say, some are more bitter, some are more sweet, some are more fruity, and then and some are more piney. And then it also depends on when they put them in the beer. So at the front of the boil, the back of the boil, are you using whole cone hops? Are you using pelletized hops? They can even use almost like hop extract. So it's there's a variety of ways to do it, and they're getting more and more creative all the time.
Front of the boil, hoppier or less hoppy?
I believe I'm not a brewer, but I believe the front of the boil is going to make it hoppier, more bitter. And because the longer those hops stay in, the more they're going to integrate throughout. So if you do it at the end of the boil and remove them, you're just going to get that sort of sweetness off the top. If I remember correctly.
You are the expert. We will have to take your word for it.
Well, if there's a home brewer right now, and if I'm wrong, forgive me.
Anything else from Corn Coast in the store?
Yeah, we have their Modern Melody in the store. So they're not in sort of constant distribution. They only have a few retail outlets. We happen to be one of them, which I appreciate. And we get a drop from them about once a month is all. So it's usually about a 2 or 3 case maximum. They're not canning a ton of beer. They're spreading it out between about, I want to say about 6 or 8 accounts in Lincoln and then a few in Omaha. They are also opening an Omaha tap room in Papillion, but that's got a little ways to go. But if you haven't been there, it's a fun hangout spot. And they've got an outdoor seating area now that's to the north of the building, so you can get out of the sun if it's hot and enjoy cold beer out on the patio.
Is Myers Cork and Bottle a fun hangout spot?
Yeah. I mean, I've only been there for 20-something years. So
how acceptable is loitering?
Well, it depends on who you are, I guess.
How well you loiter, right?
Right.
Yeah.
If you're fun to hang around, then absolutely. If you're not, then I'll ask you to leave. How's that?
Seems fair.
But, come hang with old Uncle Kevin. We'll shoot the breeze.
One last time, summer wine sale info.
So 10, 15, 20 sale. Mix and match any 3 wines, regularly priced wines, save 10%. Any 6 wines, save 15%. Or any 12 wines, save 20%.
Perfect. Hey, next week, just you, me, and Stricky. Jay's going to be doing his big-timer thing in Indy.
All right. Attaboy, Jay.
I don't know if it'd be that, but yeah.
You're going to represent us well.
I'm going to represent to the fullest.
You going to bring a suit? You got to dress up, don't you?
No, we're not dressing up this year, but I'll have a suit. I always pack one with me, though.
Nice.
Excellent. Kevin Meyer, Myers Cork and Bottle, thanks as always, good sir.
Appreciate you, fellas. Thank you.
Old School continues next.
Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch. Old School with DP and J on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
There's nothing quite like the Mercado by Certified Piedmontese beef. The Mercado offers unique ingredients you can't find anywhere else, open every day from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. The full-service butcher shop and retail store is wonderful for meat lovers with their exclusive certified Piedmontese beef and assorted sausages, plus other quality meats, including pork, chicken, and a wide range of the freshest seafood. Plus, every Friday from 11 to 2, the Mercado serves up the best lunch in town on their Friday Feast menu. Stop in at the Mercado today at 84th and Havelock or visit their website at cpmercado.com to see current deals.
At Union Bank, people don't have your money. Your money has people. First home people, investment people, people who answer the phone and your chats. Dream car people, dream retirement people, driving your dream car in your dream retirement people, small business people, credit card people, and all the other people you need. At Union Bank, our people help you do more than you dreamed possible. So stop in and say hello. We can't wait to see you. Union Bank and Trust. Member FDIC.
Soulful Casino in Havelock is a family-owned business, providing incredible food and service that'll have you craving more with every bite. Soulful Casino offers everything from pulled pork to fried chicken, catfish, ribs, and even quesadillas. You want sides? They've got them. From fries, green beans and baked beans, to collard greens, potato salad, and sweet dill corn. Stop by for lunch as they have specials Tuesday through Friday from 11 to 2 p.m. That's Soulful Casino, located in Havelock, where every bite you take fills the soul.
Football season is nearly here, and your long wait for year 2 of Matt Rule is almost over. Gear up for the season with 93.7 The Ticket's coverage of Big Ten Media Days from July 23rd to the 25th, live from Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis. Jay Foreman, Amon Green, Adam Carricker, Chancellor Brewington, Derek Pearson, Steve Sipple, Jake Sorensen, and Nick Sainer will be in Indy for our shows Tuesday through Thursday. Getting the latest news from Nebraska and everyone else around the conference. Coverage of Big Ten Media Days is brought to you by 1890 Nebraska, Stevens and Smith Construction, The Complex, Warhorse Casino, and Riddles Jewelry.
Hey, Nebraska football fans, it's defensive lineman Ty Robinson, and I've got a winning play for you with Action Plumbing, Heating, AC, and Electrical. Team up with Action and install a new Bradford white water heater in your home. And if we win the conference championship this season, you'll get a full refund. Don't fumble this opportunity. Sack your old water heater this season and score big with Action. Visit actionlincoln.com/Huskers to learn more.
Promotion valid for a limited time. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
The weather is hot, the kids are out of school, and you're on your way to the lake and summer road trips. Are you getting to your vacation spot comfortably, or is your car letting you down? Mullen Motors Lot is full of great vehicles to take home, so you don't have to worry about your current car barely surviving another road trip. Come check out their lot just north of 48th and Layton and find your next ride for summer road trips and beyond. Mullen Motors.
No tag-ons, just quality vehicles. Mullen Motors.
93.7 The Ticket, Fox, KFXL weather. Brought to you by Bryant Air Conditioning, Heating, Electrical, and Plumbing.
The Lincoln forecast for today, expecting mainly sunny skies and light southeast winds. See an afternoon high around 83. Tonight, mostly clear and calm, with a low around 62. And tomorrow, probably sunny, but showers and storms arrive in the afternoon. See a high around 85. I'm meteorologist Kyle Pucker from 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
At Doane University, we build leaders, and that means your success and achievements come first.
At Doane University, your future is uniquely yours, and our world-class liberal arts education is just the beginning.
We invite you to schedule your campus visit and experience why Doane University will start you on your journey to your future career.
Learn more by scheduling your personal campus visit today at doane.edu/visit. See you soon.
Your home is your empire. Protect it with Empire Fence. Get a free instant quote with the online estimating tool at empire-fence.com. See an upfront estimate with no hidden fees. An Empire Fence can provide privacy and improve the appearance of your home. Keep kids and pets in or out of your yard. Increase security and add value to your property. Visit empire-fence.com now to view the stylish and maintenance-free possibilities for your home and get a free instant online quote. Let Empire Fence protect your empire.
You're spending $300 a month. Binge drinking is the most common form of excessive drinking, which costs the United States more than $191 billion each year. By drinking less, you will save $300 a month. If you or a loved one is looking for help, find a treatment facility near you at findtreatment.gov. For immediate support, call, text, or chat 988.
Brought to you by Nebraska DHHS in partnership with SAMHSA.
93.7 The Ticket is proud to provide listeners with daily opportunities to win contests and prizes on our airwaves, and would like to take this opportunity to remind you of a couple rules. All participants must be 21 or older and must wait 30 days after winning a prize before participating in another contest. Once you win, you have 30 days to pick up your prize at the K&TK Studios, 1040 O Street in Lincoln, or your prize will be forfeit. Thank you for participating in our contest, and thank you for listening to 93.7 The Ticket.
Coming at you live from the heart of Lincoln, America. This is Old School, sponsored by the Mercado by Certified Piedmontese. Broadcasting veteran Derek Pearson.
When you find something that moves them, that makes them smile, celebrate it. That's your task. That's your superpower.
Nebraska Football Hall of Famer Jay Foreman.
Rifles a pass. It was tipped. It's picked off by Foreman. He's at the 15, 10, 5. He'll score!
On 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
What up, Old School on Hump Day? Jay Foreman, Austin Norman.
Hey, we're past Hump Day. It's
What's
Thursday.
Is today Thursday? Oh, yeah.
Thursday.
I'm tripping, man. Terrific Thursday. Jay Foreman, Austin Norman, Old School. We were brought to you by the Mercado, Certified Piedmontese Special Ingredients and Butcher Shop, 84th and Havelock, 30th and Yankee Hill, 168th and Maple up there in the O. But I'd like to give Kevin Meyer Cork and Bottle, some love. Great Thirsty Thursday as always. Stricky's holiday is like we like to call, or like I like to call it. But
that man has more holidays than the rest of us. Every Thursday.
Somebody's got to do it. So go ahead, let Stricky do it. But we text line. We want you to get your opinion. We're gonna dive into ESPN. ESPN came out with their top 18 college football stadiums, and I want everybody's thoughts because there's a couple that I don't agree with, and it's right off the rip, right? And it's kind of crazy because we talked with DP, I think, about it, and I don't even know what the reason. Oh, he was saying that LSU has a little bit of gripe not being, ranked a little bit higher in preseason. But the number one stadium, according to ESPN, is LSU. I can understand that, especially at night.
Mm-hmm.
You've heard the stories. We could get Bill Bush and tell it about it. And remember when at Ogeron, it was like Death Valley at night. This is where dreams come to die or whatever.
Yep.
And the fact that he said it, it was the best. Number two. And now this must be a combination, but for whatever reason, it's UCLA in the Rose Bowl. Now, if UCLA is playing in the Rose Bowl, they definitely shouldn't be number two. No way. USC, yes.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I have a problem, just because it's USC or UCLA.
The rationale for it from ESPN legitimately cracks me up. So part of it is the scenery behind it, the San Gabriel Mountains.
Sure.
Okay, cool. That looks nice. Good luck finding a more picturesque backdrop for any football stadium on the planet. Okay, whatever. Here's their next sentence. Sure, the stadium is old and in need of repairs. They tell you itself. And then it goes on to list, it's hosted Super Bowls. It's hosted a gold medal match in soccer. It's hosted World Cup finals. And then it says, Although UCLA doesn't draw big crowds for home games.
Right.
You're telling on yourself.
That's the problem I have. And I think a stadium. Now, I do think the Rose Bowl itself, I think it's more of a problem with UCLA. Why wouldn't you put USC in there?
Right.
Like, here's what I want the text line. Like, when you think of the Rose Bowl, do you think of UCLA or USC?
USC.
I'm thinking of all the way back to Charles White, Marcus Allen, all those teams, and obviously Reggie Bush. And I've never thought about Cade McCown or whatever his name is, or I've never thought about that.
Well, it's like
sorry. I mean, I'm not trying to. I'm not sorry. You guys are hot garbage.
Well, it's like the U turning their home stadium or the stadium in Miami into their home for the Orange Bowl.
Right.
Right. USC, no, it's not their home stadium like Miami's was.
Right.
But it became their home stadium. You think about USC at the Rose Bowl, not UCLA. Come
yeah,
on.
and you know what? I don't mind an old stadium. I liked the old Orange Bowl. That was part of it, man. I'm telling you, Austin. I mean, when we went down there, man, it was like, look, you go and it's like off the beaten path. It's not in the best neighborhood. I mean, that's the whole part of it. That's why I think, that I love the Orange Bowl versus obviously they're at the where the Dolphins play now. My biggest problem is UCLA. Now, here's where my second big. I got a lot of problems here with these right here. These top three. Number one, I'm okay with. Number three, I've been to Michigan. When I tell you, sometimes they say when you meet your heroes, you get disappointed. I heard about the Big House. I had a high school teammate that went there. Jason Kapsner, you're still not a national champion. We are in 97. I tell him every time. But when I went to the Big House, I was completely disappointed, completely let down. The crowd noise was minimal. I equated to one in when I was in high school, we played a playoff game, and it was a former it was a prison stadium, and it was so the Big House is like not at ground level; it's below ground level. It was nothing special. I mean, and maybe for the players down there, for me, there were seats available, right? It wasn't very loud. This is when they had Denard Robinson. I think we remember he wore number 98 or whatever his name is.
Oh, wasn't that Gardner?
It was the Robinson, the little dude, shoelaces. He was the quarterback, and the game was relatively close.
Yeah, he wore 16.
Yeah, well, whatever he was. I was not impressed at all. I was not at all. Nothing. There was nothing about the Big House that was appealing. I was like, this is. I was like, this is what I came up here for. I was expecting. When you think of the Big House, I'm thinking of a huge stadium, intimidation, packed house. The tailgate. Now it was actually the tailgate, and getting there was more fans were outside. It's almost like everybody was outside versus inside. I was not impressed at all.
It's just like Emeka Okafor. It's just like Taco Fall, just big.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Its selling point is that it holds a lot of people. Congratulations. You are a wine and cheese crowd.
You know what it is? It's like celery.
It's celery.
Yeah. No substance. No. It's all water. Notre Dame, I'm fine with that. Touchdown Jesus and all that. I mean, it's for real. I mean, it is. And I will tell you here, a funny story I always tell you about when my brother, who's a doctor, he was down in Kirksville, Missouri. I flew into, I think, St. Louis and drove, went through Columbia. Because I always hated Missouri. I took a leak on Missouri's campus. We used to always drive from Minneapolis to DC for Christmas, and when we go through I'm telling you this, my dad's coming down for a game, and we'll see if he admits it. Him and my uncle, rest in peace, uncle. His name is Gary, but we call him Grease. We hated Notre Dame. Obviously, Miami. They would literally
Catholics, convicts, all that.
Leave our DNA there. I mean, Austin, every time, literally, snowstorm.
Respect that.
Snowstorm, whatever. We got to make place, because you try to get the checkpoints back then. We didn't have like even Google Maps where you could prep. We had the map.
Mm-hmm.
So, you're trying to get to certain places so you can get to Christmas Eve on time and all. It didn't matter. They stopped, and then, blessing Notre Dame. Number 5, Penn State, whiteout. I believe it. I like it.
So I won't disclose the person, but a broadcaster I've talked to said Penn State is the most overrated.
Oh, really?
Basically just a matchbox. Like, it is just the girders and the construction. So the environment inside is great.
Yeah.
But the stadium itself, way overrated.
Well, it's just like Penn State's program.
Hey,
and
there it
James
is.
Franklin. There you go. Number 6, Washington. I don't know if number 6.
You've
think
been there.
I've been there. You talking about a scenic though? The roof. Yeah, that's. I mean, you know what? I don't know if it's number 6. Definitely, probably, maybe top 10 or 12.
It's weird because of like the big rafters. They're just like
Yeah.
flat over top.
Right.
That deducts some points for me because it doesn't look good. But it was supposed to hold the noise and all that.
But
so.
it was loud for a little bit until we start, tearing
Second
off.
quarter.
Yeah, until we start tearing off in that tail. Number 7, Ohio State. I've been there before. I've been there. That is actually, it's like a big cathedral. You know what I'm saying? It's a big stadium, ton of tailgating, the fans, the experience. I think they actually should be higher than number 7. Number 8 is Wisconsin. I've been there as well. They jump around the stadium, the fans, probably one of the worst fans for a visiting team. But I think number 8 is good for them.
Which is funny because I still think, I know Wisconsin's not Midwest, but I still think of them as Midwest nice. No, wrong reputation. Wrong reputation.
Number 9, Alabama, for sure. Nick Saban, I think pre-Nick Saban, not so much. Nick Saban and what they've done after, it's made it a place to be. They've done everything around it. They made what they call it, Tuscaloosa, Vegas or something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah. It was they've done a lot. Their game day experience is not quite Ole Miss, which isn't on here, which is crazy. But it's a pretty good experience. Number 10. Now I've had some when I was in Buffalo, a lot of Nebraska players were drafted in Tennessee. So one of my best friends played at Tennessee, and all they talk about is the power T. And I was listening to I think Sirius XM, and they had what's his name? Hester, the running back from LSU. He's on there. And he said that was probably the most intimidating place he's been in. They said this is when I knew Tennessee has a home field advantage. He said it said watching them run out with the power T at night is an experience because it goes pitch black. And so number 10 is there.
Being on the river is pretty cool.
Yeah.
I like the checkers though.
It's
hard to get people to pull that off. It's a little hokey. I mean, they have it in the end zone, but it's their thing and they own it.
And they've always done it, and it's always looked cool.
They have. So I give them props for keeping that going like they have.
Yeah. And number 11 is Clemson. I like that. Running out, and I mean,
second Death Valley, but still Death Valley.
Yeah, and they get it cracking. And they've had some big victories down there, and it's been led by them, and they've definitely created. Number 12, Army. I can see that because look, man, that game, Army-Navy game, it's special every year. So I like where they're at. Number 13, Kyle Field, Texas A&M. I can see right where they're at. I wouldn't say 13. I think they're definitely top 18.
It's just a little too culty for me.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about the stadium, like the structure itself, but the fact that you don't have cheerleaders, you have cadets. I get it's agriculture and military, but like,
it
weirds me out.
Here's why it weirds you out. When Trev took the job and they were doing the sway thing, it didn't the math wasn't mathing.
No.
They should be 18. Yeah. Number 14 is Oregon. I like that. I think obviously they're new on the block, and now I think they have with everything that Phil Knight has done, and Chip Kelly, the uniforms. Obviously, they're a national power now. Definitely, I think they're number 14 is right where they should be.
It has a great reputation for the noise, the environment, but the stadium itself, and take your leave.
And I don't think it's
think
intimidating.
Recency bias.
You're right. That's what it is. I think it's more uniform based and everything. I don't think it's intimidating at all. Because that's not their at.
Well, shoot, Nebraska went up there and looked shook in the first half, and then reeled off 28 unanswered in the second half, and fell a touchdown short.
Yeah. Nice, Mike. 15, Virginia Tech. This needs to be higher. Enter Sandman, the victories, the walk that they do, the stadium, where it's situated, Virginia Tech. It doesn't matter who comes in there. That is a once in a career or lifetime experience. If you ever get a chance to experience, I haven't, but I know one of my best friends, Keon Carpenter, who unfortunately passed away. He talked glowingly about that, about teams that would be intimidated, especially when Miami and them come up there, they would intimidate people. Virginia Tech. Number 16, text line, Memorial Stadium, Huskers. I like it. We need to get above 16. Do you think, Austin, 16 is right, or do you think it needs to be a little bit higher?
Feels a little high.
You think they should be lower?
I think
they're out
Nebraska
of the
can do better. I think Nebraska, and maybe it's being so close to home. Maybe it's having been there so much. Maybe it's being involved in it. I would love to experience Memorial Stadium again for the first time. Because
the real. I'm gonna tell you something.
Yes.
When Nebraska's winning and it's a night game, I'm telling you, there is nothing like it.
And see, that I'm happy to believe. I haven't been to a night game as a fan.
We
the
were
night games
close.
I've been to were as media. Okay, so you can't really soak it in. You got a job to do. The best game I saw there was when Nice Mike beat Oregon.
Yeah.
Tommy was cramping, that sort of thing. That was a good environment.
Yeah.
Getting Thunderstruck played like at the end of the games, like that's cool. Sirius is still fine, not my favorite, but I don't know what you're gonna change it to at this point. It's big, but not like the biggest. It's good.
Yeah.
It's
better.
I'd love to see it with a winning product. Let me phrase it.
Nebraska wins, starts winning with the ton of walk, the way that with the new stuff, the Thunderstruck, especially. Well, I can promise you, Austin, that Colorado game, you will experience it, and I guarantee you would think that they're going to be up from 16. Number 17 is Auburn. That doesn't do anything for me. It doesn't. They could be out of the top 18, because you want to know why they should be out of the top 18?
Them hedges,
number 18 should be well above 18. And so I feel they got a couple wrong, just from my personal experience. And I'm going to tell you one school for sure that should be in there. And I've only experienced it because one of my mentors in the league was Sam Coward, played at Florida State.
That's 19. It's next.
Okay, well, that's 19. But listen, I've Googled when they've done the chop, or when they do it and they bring out on the horse. Listen, you could get Auburn out of there. You can get UCLA out of there. UCLA, USC, you can be in there. You definitely could take Michigan out of there. Some other ones, and Florida State needs to be in there. Now, it's like Nebraska when they're winning. Miami should be in there when they're winning.
Mm-hmm.
When Miami's winning, Florida State's winning, Nebraska's winning. Listen, and yes, text line, David the Dad, when it was at the 300 sellout against Miami, it was insane. Randy Gregory with the huge hits and all that stuff, and it was a rival. That's what you need to experience.
I had to miss that game to go to homecoming. My parents made me ask a girl to homecoming instead of letting me stay home and watch that game. Guess what I did, Jay?
You left early?
I watched that game on TV at homecoming.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Sometimes you got to make an executive
decision.
Yeah, business decision, man.
She's not my wife. It's fine.
Hey, I ain't touching that, but it's all good. But we're gonna take a quick break. Come back. Keep texting in. We'll have a short segment. Then at the 5 o'clock hour, we're gonna dive into some other stuff. Jay Foreman, Austin Norman. We'll be right back.
You're listening to Old School with DP and J. Download the mobile app and listen wherever you are on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
At Fairway Meat Market, you're family, and as part of the family, they want to save you money on your meat and groceries. Now, through July 21st, enjoy USDA Choice 8-ounce bacon wrap tenderloin for $4.99 each. St. Louis spare ribs for $2.88 per pound. All natural whole Boston pork butt for $1.88 per pound. 93% lean ground beef for $4.99 per pound in a 10-pound tube. And Boulevard 6-packs for just $5.99. That's all at Fairway Meat Market in the Rockledge Square Shopping Center, just south of 84th and Van Dorn.
Get ready, Husker fans. The Big Red Preview is coming soon. Join us Saturday night, August 3rd, for an exclusive look at your Nebraska football team in action. Experience the excitement, the energy, the sights and sounds of a game day as the 2024 football season kicks off. Visit Huskers.com/tickets and bring your family, friends, and all your Big Red pride to Memorial Stadium, Saturday night, August 3rd. That's Huskers.com/tickets. Brought to you by Husker Athletics and 1890 Nebraska. Winning tradition, future success.
There's nothing quite like the Mercado by Certified Piedmontese beef. The Mercado offers unique ingredients you can't find anywhere else, open every day from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. The full-service butcher shop and retail store is wonderful for meat lovers with their exclusive certified Piedmontese beef and assorted sausages, plus other quality meats, including pork, chicken, and a wide range of the freshest seafood. Plus, every Friday from 11 to 2, the Mercado serves up the best lunch in town on their Friday Feast menu. Stop in at the Mercado today at 84th and Havelock or visit their website at cpmercado.com to see current deals.
Hello, this is Mary Pat Waite. I've had the privilege of working with Lincoln Families as their realtor for more than 31 years, and I'm so proud to be associated with MP Dodge Real Estate. For me, your transaction is unique in its own way. My experience allows me to bring you trusted care and a really great outcome. My NP Dodge family shares the same client focus.
Expand your career with NP Dodge. Call Eric at 402-434-2222.
Are you looking for a new spot to relax and unwind? The Post, located on the south side of the Telegraph District on the corner of 20th and N Street, is perfect for a group hangout or a relaxing evening. The Post has plenty of exciting events open to the public, like Whiskey Wednesday and poker tournaments on Sundays. Looking for a spot for a private event? Ask them about their indoor patio. The Post, located at 20th and N Street in Lincoln.
Your home is your empire. Protect it with Empire Fence. Get a free instant quote with the online estimating tool at empire-fence.com. See an upfront estimate with no hidden fees. An Empire Fence can provide privacy and improve the appearance of your home. Keep kids and pets in or out of your yard. Increase security and add value to your property. Visit empire-fence.com now to view the stylish and maintenance-free possibilities for your home and get a free instant online quote. Let Empire Fence protect your empire.
John Henry's has a brand new membership club to protect your entire home in one program. With a VIP and a deluxe option, we will help you find the plan that best fits your needs. Receive discounts on services and equipment, priority service, complimentary inspections, and so much more. Protect your home's plumbing, heating, cooling, and electrical systems all in one membership. Call John Henry's to learn more.
435-5555. John Henry's Plumbing, Heating and Air.
And electrical.
You're spending $300 a month. Binge drinking is the most common form of excessive drinking, which costs the United States more than $191 billion each year. By drinking less, you will save $300 a month. If you or a loved one is looking for help, find a treatment facility near you at findtreatment.gov. For immediate support, call, text, or chat 988.
Brought to you by Nebraska DHHS in partnership with SAMHSA.
Back to old school with DP and J on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
What up? We're back. Jay Foreman, Austin Orman, old school. Quick segment here. We'll go over some of the text here. Obviously, David the Dad talked about the 300 sellout. Corey in Lincoln, he says he's okay with 16 right now. There's recency bias against Memorial Stadium because we haven't been relevant. That is somewhat true. 39.94. He said if the Huskers are winning, it would be better and higher, and that is 100% true. Sanderson says it's not a little culty. It feels like a full-blown cringeworthy cult. Yes, you know when we played down there, there's a kid that moved to Minnesota maybe a year after I did, and he was from Texas, and then he ended up going. He actually came. We lost to him, and he came. On the bus, but he always was weird. You know what I mean?
Just something to laugh about the guy.
Yeah, and he goes to Texas A&M,
explains it,
and he just didn't. His I guess aura or whatever was like. I was like, bro, we just went to high school 4 years ago. What happened to you? It is weird down there, and the funny thing is in Houston, it's majority a Texas A&M alum town, whereas I feel, and I might be wrong, but Dallas is more Austin and obviously TCU. So I have John Saffel, who played golf at Texas A&M. He was a neighbor of mine. He's a great guy. I knew some other people. It's definitely on the cusp. It's kind of like Baylor. It's kind of like Penn State. College Station is very small, off the beaten path, and they definitely play by their own rules.
Is Trev the type of guy to go in and try to fit in so he's going to play along, or is Trev the type of guy that's going to do his own thing and not to get overly involved in any of the chantiness?
I'm sure he's going to do enough to make sure that he
blends in.
Yeah, I can't speak for him, but I'm sure I can't imagine Trev going full Aggie, right? But I'm assuming he's going to do enough to be accepted. We got one more text from Dave the Dad. Was also at the Colorado game where Henry kicked the 54-yard field goal, also insane. Yeah, listen, when you think about stadiums, you got to have iconic moments in history. Now, everybody on that list has, but Nebraska's had some really, really, I mean, heck, if you go all the way back to Johnny Rodgers, essentially, national championship, won the Heisman, put him on it, put Nebraska on the national map. So Memorial Stadium is definitely, 16. I think they also use the sellout in Nebraska nice against us versus, when we played Colorado, it was rocking. They brought Van Vader, this wrestler, out through the crowd. Didn't do anything, but I think AG went 80 on the first play of the game. Definitely dead silent. So there's some places on there that's good, but
I'm gonna do my research, make sure I get this right. The game that my dad always points to is Halloween 1992, Nebraska, Colorado.
Yeah,
the most off the chain, off the hook game he's ever been to.
Yeah, man, it was. I wasn't obviously on the team, but I seen the highlights. I mean, that game looked like it was ruthless. I think the weather was a little bit bad. Nebraska broke through. There's been some, some really good atmosphere, really iconic atmospheres. Here, obviously, you can go the first game after 9/11. With the entrance and everything like that. There's some other places. So Nebraska's in a good place. You win some more, you'll be up there. So let's start get it started this year. Anyways, good segment. We're going to take a break, come back at the 5 o'clock hour, jump into some other unique sports news, and we're going to take a quick break. Jay Foreman, Austin Orman, Old School. We'll be right back.
Watch Old School live on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch. Old School with DP and J on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
There's nothing quite like the Mercado by Certified Piedmontese beef. The Mercado offers unique ingredients you can't find anywhere else, open every day from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. The full-service butcher shop and retail store is wonderful for meat lovers with their exclusive certified Piedmontese beef and assorted sausages, plus other quality meats, including pork, chicken, and a wide range of the freshest seafood. Plus, every Friday from 11 to 2, the Mercado serves up the best lunch in town on their Friday Feast menu. Stop in at the Mercado today at 84th and Havelock or visit their website at cpmercado.com to see current deals.
Are you looking for a new spot to relax and unwind? The Post, located on the south side of the Telegraph District on the corner of 20th and N Street, is perfect for a group hangout or a relaxing evening. The Post has plenty of exciting events open to the public, like Whiskey Wednesday and poker tournaments on Sundays. Looking for a spot for a private event? Ask them about their indoor patio. The Post, located at 20th and N Street in Lincoln.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com.
On the internet.
KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket.
Get ready, Husker fans. The Big Red Preview is coming soon. Join us Saturday night, August 3rd, for an exclusive look at your Nebraska football team in action. Experience the excitement, the energy, the sights and sounds of a game day as the 2024 football season kicks off. Visit Huskers.com/tickets and bring your family, friends, and all your Big Red pride to Memorial Stadium, Saturday night, August 3rd. That's Huskers.com/tickets. Brought to you by Husker Athletics and 1890 Nebraska. Winning tradition, future success.
John Henry's has a brand new membership club to protect your entire home in one program. With a VIP and a deluxe option, we will help you find the plan that best fits your needs. Receive discounts on services and equipment, priority service, complimentary inspections, and so much more. Protect your home's plumbing, heating, cooling, and electrical systems all in one membership. Call John Henry's to learn more.
435-5555. John Henry's Plumbing, Heating and Air.
And electrical.
Still using that old, outdated office phone system? You need better.
At Hamilton, we offer solutions for the modern office. Whether you have an office full of staff or your employees work remotely and are on the go, seamless call handling is important. Elevate your communication and connect seamlessly with clients and staff with Hamilton Business Phone Systems. Choose better and hire Hamilton at hamiltonisbusiness.com.
Your home is your empire. Protect it with Empire Fence. Get a free instant quote with the online estimating tool at empire-fence.com. See an upfront estimate with no hidden fees. And Empire Fence can provide privacy and improve the appearance of your home. Keep kids and pets in or out of your yard. Increase security and add value to your property. Visit empire-fence.com now to view the stylish and maintenance-free possibilities for your home and get a free instant online quote. Let Empire Fence protect your empire.
Football season is nearly here, and your long wait for year 2 of Matt Rule is almost over. Gear up for the season with 93.7 The Ticket's coverage of Big Ten Media Days from July 23rd to the 25th, live from Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis. Jay Foreman, Amon Green, Adam Carricker, Chancellor Brewington, Derek Pearson, Steve Sipple, Jake Sorensen, and Nick Sainer will be in Indy for our shows Tuesday through Thursday. Getting the latest news from Nebraska and everyone else around the conference. Coverage of Big Ten Media Days is brought to you by 1890 Nebraska, Stevens and Smith Construction, The Complex, Warhorse Casino, and Riddles Jewelry.
Ready to add a dash of Southern flavor to your week? At Wings and Rings, their brand new Southern fried wings have arrived for a limited time. Indulge in the irresistible goodness of large, traditional bone-in wings coated in a crispy beer batter and fried to perfection. Try them with hot honey or any other sauces. And for those busy summer days coming up, look no further than their Southern Fried Wings Family Bundle. Wings and Rings, 2 Lincoln locations on O Street or Village Lane.
I'm softball player Jordy Ball, and I'm proud of my Nebraska roots, and I'm proud to be back home. And at Midwest Bank, they're proud to be your local community bank. They believe in family first, taking initiative, showing integrity, and rolling up their sleeves to support their local communities. They treat everyone like family, no matter where you're from. Whether you walk into a branch in York, Lincoln, Norfolk, or Pierce, you know you're going to be welcomed with a smile. Your community, your bank, Midwest Bank.
On the Block with Strick and Austin.
If it was the Big Ten and the SEC and the Big 12 and the ACC's idea to kick back to grow the game at lower levels, we wouldn't have these conversations. Right. But because the NCAA is asking them to do that, it feels like they're getting their wallet stolen, money taken out of it, and it's not their idea, so they're against it.
Yeah. Weekdays from 2 to 4 on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Everyone should have a collection of something. For some, it's stamps or coins, expensive cars, or even watches. But for a lot of people, it's sports cards. And there's no better way to grow your collection than with the help of Capital City Sports Cards, Lincoln's first and only collector-first sports cards and memorabilia shop. Capital City Sports Cards connects collectors of all ages and demographics with unique collectibles sure to bring any collection to life, no matter the budget. Visit Capital City Sports Cards near 56th and Old Cheney or through their eBay storefront. Capital City Sports Cards, Lincoln's premier sports card and memorabilia store.
Coming at you live from the heart of Lincoln, America. This is Old School, sponsored by the Mercado by Certified Piedmontese. Broadcasting veteran Derek Pearson.
When you find something that moves that makes them smile, celebrate it. That's your task. That's your superpower.
Nebraska Football Hall of Famer Jay Foreman.
Rifles a pass. It was tipped. It's picked off by Foreman. He's at the 15, 10, 5. He'll score!
On 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
What up? We're back. Old School, Jay Foreman, Austin Norman. On this Thursday, we are brought to you by the Mercado, Certified Piedmontese Special Ingredients Butcher Shop, 84th and Havelock, 30th and Yankee Hill, here in the LNK. A couple texts. Chris and Seward or Lincoln/Austin's dad. He says Halloween game versus Colorado on Halloween 1992 was the loudest stadium I've ever been in. I wasn't there, but I've heard about it. I heard about it even when I got here as a freshman because we were about to play Colorado again my freshman year at home.
Who are some of those guys on the team that would have been there?
On 92?
Yeah.
Kenny Wilhite. I know John Perella was on that team. I don't know. Text line, let us know that. I mean, I've only seen highlights. And I saw John Perella. John Perella was huge. He was throwing guys out the club. So, oh well. Here, Earthquake says both teams entered ranked, tied for 8th. One team won 52-7. You know how we do it. Calvin Jones was on that team. Trevor had to be on that team. Travis Hill for sure. I'm assuming because him and Trev graduated together. So there's some great players in that game.
Very.
Yeah, we don't care who's on Colorado though. Yeah.
Neither did they.
Yeah, and served them nicely. Travis Hill had 92-39 says Travis Hill had an interception in the game. So there you go, Austin. I still think Nebraska will get ranked up there high. There's an article here that I pulled up on Reddit, and it was from an anonymous Big Ten coach. And this is pretty cool because, look, everybody knows. I would say this about PJ Fleck. I didn't beat around the bush. I didn't really like him at first. But a kid I trained named Blake Cashman, actually Blake just signed a huge contract in the NFL. PJ Fleck targeted him, and he was a walk-on. He bet on himself. He led the team in tackles, played as a true freshman, put him on scholarship to the day that he said he would once he took the job over. So that was like, okay, that. And Carter Coughlin, who I know and trained, and Blake said, listen, he is for real. And he just very detailed, came in with his thing, rowed the boat, and I thought it was just another slogan. And then I met him at Big Ten and, talked to him for a while. And then also I met with him one time up in Minnesota, very welcoming. And I just saw his process. But here's and I sent this to Austin because it's a great talking point because I'll see PJ here in a few days. And also last year at Big Ten, where they kind of drummed up an old article about stuff in the athletic department and in some stuff like that, like he was bullying people and all that. And it's a professor on campus that every year he seems to put out that article, but it was literally the day that they were in Big Ten. So they were all in a little bit of panic mode. But this one here is an anonymous Big Ten coach says this: I think PJ Fleck chased UCLA and some other jobs pretty hard to get out of Minnesota, and it didn't happen for him. That's interesting because remember, he was tied to UCLA. He was also tied to as a very high candidate to Michigan State.
That's right.
He was tied to numerous jobs from the year before because remember, he got the new extension. Was like five or something, which was huge. It's huge for Minnesota to pay a coach that much. Because they definitely are not or at least weren't thought of as a football school and didn't put a lot of money into their football program. But then also, Austin, before you comment on it, remember, PJ Fleck essentially called the donors to task because of NIL or the lack of support NIL. And had a really good freshman running back, and they didn't want to lose him. They obviously raised enough money to keep him. PJ Fleck is around, but it also lets you know. He could have been looking. They say, some of the comments, money could have been a reason. He only has a $7 million buyout, so that's not a big buyout for that type of coach to go to one of these bigger pocketed programs. But from Minnesota's perspective, I know a little bit how they think. They feel like they've overextended themselves even more than they've done for past coaches. Glenn Mason, my main man, Jerry Kill. They didn't support them, and they were pretty, successful to their standards. I'm sure I'm sure PJ got a text or something. Say, we got to talk tomorrow. Even though it's anonymous, you still get talked to with this.
You absolutely do. It doesn't shock me to hear that PJ Fleck might have been looking somewhere else. And that's the important part, right? It's not anyone saying for sure that PJ Fleck was chasing it. It's an anonymous source to Athlon, who does this every year, was the original piece. It's just one person's thoughts on it, but it doesn't surprise you.
No,
I think for all the flack that PJ Fleck gets, I do think he's self-aware. I do think he knows how he comes off to other people, to the outside. I don't think he cares, but I think he's at least aware of it. And with the conversations with his boss and the boosters and the donors and people around the program, I can understand, it stands to reason that PJ Fleck's been there he was there the year before Frost, right? That was their year
Sure.
zero, what he called it. He's still there. It's the longest he's been in a head coaching job by far. So I can understand he's like, oh, okay, well, boosters aren't rallying. Conversation with the AD was fine. Not great. He gave me the extension just because he felt like he had to, not because he wanted to. It took him some work to get the money. I might be running out of rope here. Like, we've been fine. Haven't moved the needle outside of that 1 year with Tanner Morgan and they beat Penn State and all that.
Magical year.
Magical year, exactly. So I think PJ Fleck is fine in Minnesota, but I also think PJ Fleck knows that if he's chasing UCLA, this is true, he probably has a sense of, I'm wearing out my welcome. I'm not motivating like I used to. The flash isn't there. If I don't have a great year, any opportunity I have to jump ship makes me look better than getting fired and having to get another job.
Yeah, he's definitely aware. And as every coach, you can't really worry about what people think, because if you do, listen, we've had coaches that have, what is it called, rabbit ears, and then you got thin skin. It just doesn't work. So I think with PJ Fleck, you have to be aware. And I remember Jay Billis saying this about criticism, and it's a great quote. It's like, you don't have to like it, you don't have to love it, you can hate it, but you also have to listen to it. If it's true, you have to consider it on your terms. If it's not, you just keep it moving. The one thing about PJ Fleck, look, man, I met him and chopped it up with him out, just me and him. I just wanted to feel him out, and I think once he knew I knew Blake and all them, it kind of got it. And then he was just like, hey, man, just, if you're in Minneapolis, stop by my office. I said, all right, let me see if he's a man of his word. I was with my dad, and we were only there for like 10 minutes, but watching him work in there, man, that dude's like hopped up on coffee like no other. I mean, he's definitely to the minute. I think here's the problem with programs like Minnesota. Whereas you reach a pinnacle for them, that Penn State win is probably one of the biggest victories in school history, just because national TV and all that. And then people have revisionist history. They always go back to that. And you can never beat that unless you get to Ohio State level.
Rose Bowl.
Rose Bowl. Well, you can't, because you don't have the financial support. You don't have the recruiting support. And you're in that kind of lower tier, and you're the upper level, lower tier, and you need really good retention rate, which sometimes you're going to lose players because you're not a mid-major program, but you're just barely above it, right? So people are going to pluck guys off your roster potentially. And so then the funny thing about administrations like Minnesota, where you don't have a lot of football financial support, is they pay you the money, but then they start to count the pennies that they pay you. So then it was like, okay, well, you beat South Dakota State or whatever. You beat whoever in the, I call it the Minnesota Open. You only won by 10. That's not good enough.
Well, remember, it took that late touchdown to beat South Dakota State.
Yeah, and Georgia Southern. And then they went out to Fresno and won in overtime.
Nebraska didn't beat Georgia Southern, so Minnesota gets props for that one.
And then they beat Fresno, and then that springboarded them. But then also Minnesota, for as long as I can remember, and this is before I even got to know, had athletic department administration problems when it came to football, just forever, and so for him, listen, he might not be chasing those jobs, but his agent is. That's what his agent job is to do. Right. That's what his agent's job to do. If you want a perfect example of that, look at Kurt Ferentz. Every year, I remember when the Jacksonville Jaguars job was open, and he had been like an assistant offensive line coach at some point in the NFL. They talking about he could get it. Then he got then he got another extension. Then his name kept, being brought up. Lifetime extension. He probably was never going to leave Iowa, but that's what your agent's supposed to do. Now, I'm sure PJ Fleck looked around and said, okay, where can I take my product or what I do with better support? And he's probably looking at, listen, you gave Mel Tucker $95 million. You're probably going to recoup. You're probably going to recoup some of that. I can get some. You're willing to pay big time money. He probably feels like he's got a little bit more stability, with his staff, Michigan State, some other schools. And so that's where his name would come up. I don't know why he would want to go to UCLA, because Chip Kelly left because of no support and lack of recruiting.
And you're just going to be yelling into a void in LA. Your loud center of attention shtick isn't going to work out there. Okay, couple elements back in the Big Ten. his DC left for Michigan State.
Yeah.
What does Joe Rossi want? Does he take Michigan? That seems like a lateral move right now. Maybe Michigan State has a slightly higher ceiling. They've been to Rose Bowls more recently than Minnesota has. They've been to the college football playoff. Is that a step up for him? Does he think that Jonathan Smith is going to fail and that's his spot to be the interim? Because
Contraire, my partner.
You think Minnesota's more likely to fail so you can hop back as head coach?
I think he sees or knows from talking to PJ. All these coaches talk, right? And
yeah. Well, he's just DC, so
right.
He's going to talk. Yeah.
And they know each other. What he's thinking, maybe what he's heard, maybe his agent heard. He probably was thinking PJ is probably going to be out of here in a year or two. Here comes Jonathan Smith, new guy. I at least have some stability. I can build a defense again, right? Clean slate. I'm going to Michigan State. And I know the Big Ten and probably knows the coach and feels a little bit more safe with him. Versus PJ, you really don't know where he's going to end up, man. He might surround and try to go down to Memphis or something, and he might not want to go. I think that played into it. Also think we talked about it with the co-offensive coordinator, I guess, trial last year was a big-time failure. You say, well, you ask, well, Jay, how does that affect the defensive coordinator? Well, it affects the defensive coordinator directly, not indirectly. But you want to know why?
Well, it's the same way it affects Iowa. Iowa has no offensive coordinators. Minnesota has two. If you have two quarterbacks, you have none. If you have two OCs, you have none.
Right, because how one or both call plays affects how I, defensive coordinator, can protect my defense. Minnesota built quietly, and I mean very quietly, and you didn't hear it until they got in the bowl game. One of the best and most consistent defenses under Rossi and produced draft picks and NFL legit players under him quietly for like 6 years. So there's a standard there.
Winfield, Newbin, linebackers, linemen, you name it.
Right. Defensive lineman. They had a defensive lineman drafted this year. You know, even all the way put the Rashad Hageman or whatever, remember his second round pick. They've had guys there. So the standard is there. So we always talk about Mike Zimmer when he was a head coach. He was calling plays on. He was coaching to protect his defense. Rossi's going to do that as well. That's what I think it is. I think PJ Fleck had enough respect and trusted Rossi enough that he didn't like dip in there and try to point the finger at the defense when the offense wasn't producing. I don't think that was there. I think he's been around PJ enough that like probably didn't wear him thin. I think he's like, look, PJ's thinking of making a bigger move or trying to get somewhere else. I'm not sure where he's going to go, when it's going to happen. And it's just a lack of stability.
Okay. This is going to take some mental gymnastics, but work through it with me. Kirk Ferentz retires. Is it most likely that PJ Fleck jumps ship from Minnesota for Iowa? Is Iowa interested? Would PJ Fleck have to be fired from Minnesota for Iowa to be interested? Does PJ Fleck fit Iowa? Would Iowa think that's an upgrade or a step in the right direction?
None of the above. None of the above. I don't think PJ would be interested. I don't think vice versa. And I don't think he fits Iowa. I think it's LeVar Woods.
Makes sense to me.
Because he played at Iowa. He's a great player, great recruiter. Essentially gets a promotion by Brian Ferentz being gone, or Kirk's son. And he's held at a very high standard. You talk to some of the local parents of kids that have been recruited by him. They love him, respect him. So why wouldn't you turn the keys over to him? He knows the quote unquote Iowa way versus say you hire a Jay Foreman and then you're going through a total facelift. To me, it's like, this is where I look at Luke Fickell and what they try to do with the air raid or trying to do with the air raid with a little bit of a side eye, right? We've seen this when, what was it? Gary Anderson came in there. And then obviously was told, listen, you can do all that, but we still got the big uglies. Luke Fickell is total rogue here. If you come into Iowa, a place like Iowa, and you try to go air, it just won't look right. It won't fit. It won't last long. It will do more damage. That's why I think it's LeVar Woods or bust.
So in that case, we saw a couple weeks ago now, Utah named Scally the head coach in waiting. Should Iowa do that with LeVar Woods? Do they need to do that? Is there a benefit or a downside to doing it?
I think they should, if that's what they want to do, but I think they should do it. I think there's nothing but positive and benefits for it. Number one, it keeps one of the best recruiters in the nation at home. It allows you to go recruit in the future without the question of when or if Kurt Ferentz is going to leave. Number two, it takes the target off the athletic director that came in and fired his son. Is dad next, right? So then the power struggle between those two, right, is a little bit eliminated, because if Kurt decides to retire, he still will be around because of LeVar, kumbaya. We saw it also. What was it? Was it Will Muschamp was at Texas?
Yeah.
Remember? With Mac Brown.
Mm-hmm.
He ended up leaving before. So the coaching waiting thing isn't guaranteed.
Well,
but
he went to Florida.
Or went to Florida.
Yeah.
But I'm saying it didn't work out at Texas.
Right, exactly.
The coaching waiting thing, I think, really works well in places like Utah and Iowa, because I think you got to understand, you got to love Utah, you got to be in the community. This is just my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Iowa as well, because just imagine me go coaching Iowa. I got to do.
Jay Higgins is happy.
Yeah. Well, yeah, he probably. He had 170 tackles. I don't know how many more tackles I could get him to get, but I'm just, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not an Iowa guy. So I think if I was to tell them, that's what I do. Why? Look at us. It went from Coach Osborne. I don't care what you think about Frank. Frank did it. It worked. The plug was pulled too early. Now this has nothing to do with hiring another Husker and all that. So just get that out of your system. You hired somebody totally opposite that wasn't invested in Nebraska, Bill Callahan.
You're 18th option.
Right. I mean, Houston Nutt came up here, got off the plane, got back on the plane, and got a raise. We had no intention to come here along with everybody else, and it just didn't work, and it set the program back up until hopefully right now. Now, Bo did well. Bo, I think Bo, like I said, did more positive than negative, and probably got judged too much from some other stuff versus on the field. I think he did a great, and I'm a big fan of his. Also, look at Tennessee. I remember having this conversation with Sean Bryson and them, and they were talking about, and he loved Philip Fulmer, but the people were killing Philip Fulmer. Just a year or just 2 seasons after going to the championship game, it's stale. He's lost the team. He's lost the program. Well, you went to Derek Dooley. You know what I mean? And all those other cats. You had your boy Greg Schiano was there for offered the job, and then the mob.
Well, that was Fulmer's fault.
Well, yes, but what I'm saying is that starts the downhill slide. And what's the coach before Schiano? What was his name? The guy that was paying people the wrong way. Couldn't even cheat right. He could put it in a McDonald's bag.
Why am I blanking on his name?
I
can picture him.
Pruitt.
Oh, but Jeremy Pruitt. Jeremy Pruitt.
So I mean, these are type of things you do when you make these type of total opposite decisions.
Butch Jones was the head coach, but Pruitt was the DC.
Okay, no, Butch Jones was there. Pruitt was the head coach, wasn't he? Because he came from Bama.
Oh, that's right.
Right.
Yeah.
It went from Derek Dooley to Butch Jones
to Pruitt for 2 years, 3 years. Yeah. He went 5-19.
Look at that, man. I mean, that's what, right? So, I mean, now should Philip Fulmer coach for another 20 years? No, but I'm thinking, when Peyton Manning kind of doesn't, I wouldn't say turns his back on Knoxville because of that.
Just like he turned his back on Indy.
What do you mean?
Peyton's more Denver than Indy now.
That's a little odd, though, isn't it? Who is that more a reflection of?
It's on Irsay.
Okay.
It's on Irsay.
He hasn't handled Peyton right, and he hasn't handled Mr. Andrew Luck right.
No.
Is that fair?
It's totally fair. Maybe it's not like Peyton hates Indy, right? He'll still come back. He'll do stuff for the Colts. But I feel like you see more content from the Broncos about Peyton than you do from the Colts.
Yeah.
And that makes me sad.
It is. And it's I will say this, it's disappointing because, look, he was just at Denver to stick it to the Colts, got a Super Bowl. He's not a Bronco.
No.
But whatever it is in that situation with Denver, with Elway and the ownership, definitely was more appealing to him than what happened with Irsay, because I think it's a little bit of, oh yeah, text line for Tennessee. We had Lane Kiffin's situation too.
That's right.
How you treat your mega superstars, iconic players, and Peyton is one of the best of all time, especially at his position. Probably should have just kept him there. I think there's very few. I always say that there's certain players that should never wear another uniform until they're done playing.
Mm-hmm.
They Irsay turned the page on him very quickly.
Real quick. And here's the thing. It worked out. You had 1 year suckitude with like Orlovsky and Curtis Painter, but then you got Andrew Luck. He should have been the best quarterback of that era.
But you didn't draft and protect him like, well, you tried to. It was Costanzo and stuff like that, but he already took a beating.
Yeah.
But I think the way they handled Peyton.
Right.
It was
they didn't give him a shot to rehab.
I don't even think
wrote him off.
And I don't know if Peyton would ever say it, but you can just tell by where he's at. His actions tell you everything. So Lane Kiffin there, he says we got an unknown texter 1982 says if you want to see example of handled well, Joe Montana is still a Niner, not a Chief after he retired. Yes, but I will tell you this. Joe Montana was PO'd when the Chiefs went up there and beat the Niners. After he went to the Chiefs, because I'm gonna tell you what, Joe Montana, Bill Walsh pretty much turned the page on Joe Montana real quick, and Bill Walsh says one of the big regrets. But you go from one Hall of Fame quarterback to another, not a bad trade-off. Joe Montana is always going to be a Niner. I think he was part of potential ownership, but in the stadium project, I know he done a lot of stuff like that. So we're gonna take a quick break. I'm gonna tell you a Joe Montana story, man. When they talk about Joe Cool, I'm going to tell you, he's probably the coolest dude of all time. I'll tell you a pretty cool story about Joe Montana from my cup of tea, and I was a hired assassin with the 49ers. We're going to take a quick break. Jay Foreman, Austin Norman, we'll be right back.
You're listening to Old School with DP and J. Download the mobile app and listen wherever you are on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Are you looking for a new spot to relax and unwind? The Post, located on the south side of the Telegraph District on the corner of 20th and N Street, is perfect for a group hangout or a relaxing evening. The Post has plenty of exciting events open to the public, like Whiskey Wednesday and poker tournaments on Sundays. Looking for a spot for a private event? Ask them about their indoor patio. The Post, located at 20th and N Street in Lincoln.
Prashawn Jackson here for Bauer Underground, who has been serving local contractors and utility contractors all across the state since 1997. When you see the black and white trucks, you know the baddest dudes in the business have arrived. Bauer is currently looking for equipment operators, laborers, diesel mechanics, and aerial linemen. Join the brotherhood built on hard work, authentic people, and pedigree of success. Bauer, a family-friendly company who reminds you, go Big Red!
Ready to add a dash of Southern flavor to your week? At Wings and Rings, their brand new Southern fried wings have arrived for a limited time. Indulge in the irresistible goodness of large, traditional bone-in wings coated in a crispy beer batter and fried to perfection. Try them with hot honey or any other sauces. And for those busy summer days coming up, look no further than their Southern Fried Wings Family Bundle. Wings and Rings, 2 Lincoln locations on O Street or Village Lane.
Problem gambling affects millions of Americans daily, of all ages and walks of life. If your loved one is struggling with addiction, contact Choices Treatment Center's 24-hour helpline at 402-476-2300. That's 402-476-2300.
I'm softball player Jordy Ball, and I'm proud of my Nebraska roots, and I'm proud to be back home. And at Midwest Bank, they're proud to be your local community bank. They believe in family first, taking initiative, showing integrity, and rolling up their sleeves to support their local communities. They treat everyone like family, no matter where you're from. Whether you walk into a branch in York, Lincoln, Norfolk, or Pierce, you know you're going to be welcomed with a smile. Your community, your bank, Midwest Bank.
Time for a new AC? Call Bryant. Get rebates now and lower operating costs every day. For comfort and efficiency, call 467-1111. Bryant Air Conditioning, Heating, Electrical, and Plumbing.
Still using that old, outdated office phone system? You need better. At Hamilton, we offer solutions for the modern office. Whether you have an office full of staff or your employees work remotely and are on the go, seamless call handling is important. Elevate your communication and connect seamlessly with clients and staff with Hamilton Business Phone Systems. Choose better and hire Hamilton at hamiltonisbusiness.com.
Your sprinklers are watering the street or flooding your backyard. If you're on a list that doesn't exist, it's time for Judson Irrigation. At Judson Irrigation, Lee or Lacey or Judson will make an appointment. You pick the time and they'll be there to fix your sprinkler system. Now that's service, a dying art these days.
Keep summer green. Call Judson Irrigation 402-420-6277 or judsonirrigation.com.
Husker fans, get ready for another thrilling season at Hibner Stadium with the reigning Big Ten champion Nebraska soccer team. Season tickets for the 2024 season are on sale now. Don't miss your chance to support the Huskers as they go head-to-head with some of the top teams in the country, including Oklahoma State, Penn State, and Duke. Get your tickets today at huskers.com/tickets or call 1-800-8-BIG-RED. Are you looking to get into the electrical construction industry or wanting a new scene? The electrical workers of Local Union 265 are now hiring licensed journeymen and apprentices and are offering great pay and benefits. Call Mike at 402-875-1034 to apply. Start your electrical career today.
93.7 The Ticket, Fox, KFXL weather. Sponsored by John Henry's Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning.
The Lincoln forecast for today, expecting mainly sunny skies and light southeast winds. See an afternoon high around 83. Tonight, mostly clear and calm, with a low around 62. And tomorrow, probably sunny, but showers and storms arrive in the afternoon. See a high around 85. I'm meteorologist Kyle Huck for 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Get ready, Husker fans. The Big Red Preview is coming soon. Join us Saturday night, August 3rd, for an exclusive look at your Nebraska football team in action. Experience the excitement, the energy, the sights and sounds of a game day as the 2024 football season kicks off. Visit huskers.com/tickets and bring your family, friends, and all your Big Red pride to Memorial Stadium Saturday night, August 3rd. That's huskers.com/tickets. Brought to you by Husker Athletics and 1890 Nebraska. Winning tradition, future success.
Back to old school with DP and J on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
What up? We're back. Jay Foreman, Austin Orman, old school. Good conversation, but we got even a better conversation. We got my main man coming up here, like we're going to do every week during football season. We're going to welcome in Rivals extraordinaire, my man, Greg Smith. What's popping?
Hey, what's happening, man?
Hey, man, I know you're busy because you had to cover a commitment for another athlete, but, you know, we'll jump right into it. Just last week, I got a new commit. Jackson, we had a new commit for Nebraska. Pretty good athlete, 6'3", about 180, kind of athlete, corner, safety. Tell us about him and where they projected.
Yeah. Nebraska, I think, does like him at defensive back. And he's another one of those kids. And, you know, you mentioned a 6'3", 180, 185. Another kid that's got those long, lanky arms that Nebraska really likes in their defensive backs, and a kid that is it's funny. I feel like we say this all the time, kind of under the radar, right? But has his best football ahead of him. As a kid that Nebraska identified early and had been on, you know, from the beginning of his recruitment. And I think that was something that Nebraska really, that was part of the big reason why Nebraska really won out, because they were in there early. Another one of those, you know, this coaching staff sees my talents before everybody else type of situation.
Yeah, for you guys listening, we're talking about Bryson Weber, defensive back, Missouri City, Texas, pretty much H-Town area. Greg, I want to ask you about, he has a pretty interesting recruiting process. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, he took all of his official visits, so he, you know, exhausted all the options. So does that mean in your, I guess, at least to me, in your guesstimation, that's a pretty solid commitment because he's seen everybody, talked to everybody, and obviously committed to Nebraska?
Yeah, I always think that's helpful, especially, you know, when you're getting a kid that is, you know, from out of the region, even though, you know, the staff does a lot of work down in Texas and they have good ties down there. And, you know, so it's going to be tough for a high school coach to encourage a kid to look elsewhere, right? Like those relationships end up mattering as well. So no, because of the relationships that Nebraska has with the high school coaches down there, and because he did take those visits, I think that he'll end up sticking with Nebraska, and Nebraska will get a good player there.
Yeah, also, Greg, I was just diving through, and everybody puts in there out there either top 6 list, 8. Big offensive tackle Jackson Cantwell has Nebraska in his top 14. And we've been through this before and won out on some and lost on some. That's the day and age of recruiting. But I'm going to ask you again, how big is it for Nebraska always to be in the mix? And the reason why I say this is because the more time that you're in the mix, the more time that you bang on the door, then you're going to start getting some of those commits versus just being on the list.
Yeah, this is, it's funny. And normally you get excited about, a top 3, maybe even a top 5, right? But when somebody drops the top 14, I know that the natural thing to have happen is for, fans to roll their eyes and people say, oh, okay, we got a long way to go. And maybe it is a while before Jackson Cantwell commits to a school, but here's why this is actually important and a big deal. Number one, he is the number 2 player overall in the entire country, right? He's a 5-star offensive tackle. Those kids just don't, magically grow on trees. For Nebraska to continue to be in the mix, because he told me that, the 14 was significant because that basically cut his offers down in half. So he wanted to cut off communication and kind of limit it and have just those schools in that top group now that he really focuses on. But he went out of his way to say that, ever since Nebraska really started recruiting him and he came on campus for a game day visit, he really likes Nebraska. Like they built a good relationship, and he's also said that he thinks that Matt Rule's going to get this program good in short order. And so I think the Huskers have a shot here, and we'll be in this for a while. I think that everybody at this point is chasing Missouri, the in-state school, a little bit, but it's still really early, and there's a lot of schools obviously still in the mix.
And Greg, I want to ask your opinion. My opinion is the longer it goes, it actually works out better for Nebraska because you can get them on campus. Obviously, if Nebraska does what they're supposed to do, you get that winning feeling, get ranked in the top 20-15. Then all of a sudden you just leapfrog all the way up in there. Now you got a real decision to make. Is that what your opinion, or do you think the longer it doesn't work in Nebraska's favor?
I'm 100% with you on this. I think that the longer this goes, provided Nebraska takes care of business, the better it is for Nebraska. Nebraska is essentially in the position that Missouri was in last year, right? Where people really liked Missouri staff and Coach Eli Drinkwitz, and they just wanted to see something, right? So then Missouri goes out and they win double-digit games. They kind of capped off by that bowl game win on national TV. And now what's happening with Missouri, right? They're getting everybody it feels like they want. They're getting a lot of their Plan A guys this summer locked up. So Nebraska can have something like that if they do the same thing and take care of business. And Cantwell would definitely be a big part of that. And I think that would help Nebraska's chances big time with him in particular.
Now, Greg, it seems like when you always look, 2024 is obviously, on campus. Then we're talking about 2025. It's crazy in recruiting to think like 2026 is on tap as well. End of July, you got 2, in my opinion, I like it when defense comes in because I think that wins championships. We got 2 interesting prospects coming at the end of July. You got Keenan Harris from outside linebacker from St. Louis, Missouri, and Hunter Higgins from Wichita, Kansas, more of a, weak side defensive end, maybe outside linebacker. Harris is 6'2", 220. And then you got Higgins, 6'3", 245. 2 really good prospects at positions of need. Talk about how big it is to have them on campus and what potentially could come of that in 2026 and the whole outlook on for that weekend.
Yeah, it really looks like to me that Nebraska is really using that weekend to really kickstart that 2026 group. A lot of places around the country are doing, some sort of big recruiting event that weekend, when kind of the dead period lifts and you can have kids on campus before your summer or fall camp kind of gets started up, right? And so Nebraska is taking their shot at some really good prospects, including these 2, and kind of headlined by those 2. I like both of them a lot. They're different positions, but Keenan Harris is a kid out of St. Louis. That is a St. Louis University High School, is a school that produces a lot of talent year in and year out. They've got a great program out there. Harris actually is a converted safety down to linebacker, right? And he just started playing outside linebacker and won our Rivals Camp MVP at linebacker this summer in Indianapolis. So I really like his long-term projection at linebacker as he continues to get bigger. And then Hunter Higgins is a kid off the edge out of Wichita, Kansas, that this is the type of kid to me that Nebraska really needs to start landing on a consistent basis. It's these kids in the Midwest that he's not necessarily a late bloomer because he's still just 2026 yet, but when you see him, he's an impressive looking kid, got broad shoulders, long arms, can really rush the passer. Like I really like both of those guys, and hoping for Nebraska's sake, they can get out ahead with those guys as both of their recruitments are kind of open at this point.
Yeah, I was reading Oklahoma's trying to get Higgins, but obviously with Oklahoma going down to the SEC, Nebraska probably could, really close that gap. The one thing I wanted to ask you about Harris, I remember I just looked at him a little bit. Obviously, I like it that he moved from safety to linebacker. I made that transition myself. Being 6'2", 220, and looking at his frame, the way he can run and the way he can close, could he potentially be the inside weak or stack linebacker that Nebraska needs after this year, based on his ability, especially in the 3-3-5, or when you're running nickel 4-2-5, how he can pick him up and put him down, and really his play entry is phenomenal.
Yeah, see, and that's the thing about Keenan Harris that makes him such a coveted player, is because if he continues to get bigger, or even like just basically stays this size, he can play that position that you're talking about. He could play some of that like off-ball linebacker in certain schemes as well. I think he could be kind of that inside weak side guy for Nebraska, and then because of his versatility and his ability to cover in space and run really well, he could be in those nickel packages too. He could be a really nice versatile chess piece in that defense that Nebraska runs. So yeah, I think that you're going to continue to see him pick up offers, and this is why it's so important for Nebraska to get him on campus. If he's already been there, he was on campus last year for a game, but this shows some increased interest by coming back for this big event at the end of the month.
Now Hunter Higgins, I like his frame. I said he was 6'3", 6'5", 245, and he has the frame when you look at him. Unfortunately, in his picture, he has a Sooner shirt on, so we need to update that, Greg, with the Husker shirt on when we get him up here. His frame though is huge, is because I always say he's the type of kid that could be 265 and still look 245. I like his get off. I like his length. Talk about, and I think and correct me if I'm wrong, and I want your opinion on this. I think he's a good enough athlete if he had the rush to passer standing up, and I think that's a lost art, and the thing I don't think people really project that really well, but I think he's a good enough athlete, judging how he plays, with his hand in the ground, that he can rush as a stand-up outside linebacker as well.
Yeah, you know what he could end up being as you start thinking about kind of a player comp and something that Nebraska fans saw explode on the scene last year. Is he could be kind of a further along in a way James Williams, right? So think about the role that they used him in last year, kind of coming off of the edge, being able to be a good athlete, bend, and kind of get around the corner. I think that Hunter Higgins could be that type of player, but he's actually further along because James Williams was way off the radar at this point in his development, kind of going into his junior year. But yeah, I definitely think that Higgins is a kid that you want to get into the mix and get off into that pass rush group, because as you start to think about how Nebraska wants to be able to continue to build out this defense, like you feel good about kind of where things are going maybe on the interior, because they've got some young defensive linemen that are really going to come along. But if you can get those guys coming off of the edge like this kid Higgins, I think he'll really be cooking with something, because it's just so hard to defend all of those athletes along the front.
Greg, one more before we let you go. With the way recruiting is now you got to get guys on campus early, because most likely, especially with the transfer portal, high school kids, definitely commit and get the process done. I think generally, ideally before their senior year. In 2026, when do you think it starts to pop with the commitments versus, you don't want them to commit too early and somebody else jumps in and tries to, take them off your team? Would you like it a little bit later, or is there a certain time when you'd like them to start committing and building out that 2026 class?
Yeah, in Nebraska's case right now, I would like to, if I'm them, I'd like to see it start to happen during the season, right? So I think the best case scenario for the Huskers is you get a bunch of these kids on campus now, right? Then you get them to come back for obviously for unofficial visits during the season to see a game, get around the game day atmosphere, and then Nebraska starts rolling on the field, and then you can say, okay, go ahead and jump in and be a part of this. And the other side of this, and this is something people don't like to talk about, but it happens. But the other side is that if Nebraska's doing well, you can kind of lean on those kids a little bit more, right? And say, hey, you know that we're taking off now, so go ahead and get your spot now before somebody else comes and gets it. That's a real thing. It happens all the time. And so but Nebraska just hasn't had that leverage. So to be able to actually add that to the bag would be nice as well. And we'll see if they can pull it off.
Man, that's good stuff, man. And obviously it's a dead period for recruiting, but obviously it's not a dead period for the season to be right around the corner. We'll be talking to you every week, man. Appreciate you taking time out, especially on a busy day, on this little bit of an odd week. That's Greg Smith, head man at Rivals, national guy for Rivals. We'll talk to you next week, Greg.
Thanks, man. Have a good one.
All right. Austin, man, there's a lot of stuff in there, and it seems like there's no rest for the weary when you recruit, man.
It never has been, never will be.
Yeah, now it's like, and also there's pressure on the high school kid. I mean, I just remember maybe right back when, Bo was here, or, Mike Riley, where kids would wait all the way until like 2 weeks before signing period. That was like your big time, like that, like
signing period was February, not December.
Yeah. 2 weeks, or, you would start to get commitments, right before the bowl game or in December. And then obviously you just want to keep them on the hook until January. And then obviously, God forbid, you lose a coach and then you lose a commit. But now, I'm learning that, if you're a junior going in, you want to know where you're going, or pretty much have a really good idea. And we've seen it with like Chase Lofton, and obviously, he's going to Florida State, and wish him the best. You want to have your stuff done before you go in, go out there and play your senior year, for a couple of reasons. One, secure your spot with a scholarship, right? Number two, if you want to get on the field early, the fastest path is to be an early enrollee. You get essentially a half a season. You get a head start on going to class, all the stuff that could get in the way when you're pretty much put into like a really, really condensed time frame. If I came in, say I just graduated, Minnesota, high school's over in June. I get here in the middle of the June, maybe late June. You get a couple weeks in the, off-season programs, might go home, and then boom, you're on campus right into, game time, versus you get here in January, you kind of get all that stuff out of you. You get in the winter conditioning, you know how to lift and all this other stuff and the expectations, and you get 20 practices, I think, or whatever in spring. And then you get the off-season program you're way ahead of, versus another freshman coming in a little bit later.
It's condensed in some ways because you have to recruit sooner. You have less time to get your visits in, and probably more visits to take if you're that level of prospect. But you almost give yourself a longer runway by doing that, right? With you're saying getting your decision made, getting your hands on the playbook probably a little bit sooner, getting to campus sooner. So the front end of things is probably a little more hectic and a little more condensed. And not like college isn't hectic and making that transition isn't, but you give yourselves those extra 3-6 months, depending on who you are, to get acclimated and get involved. And that can make all the difference.
Yeah, that's huge. I mean, like I always say, when I came down cold turkey, no weights, no nothing. Obviously, I wouldn't dare do that if I was recruited right now. But also I think, these kids have been out in this, vortex or cesspool of social media, being recruited probably since 8th grade if they did 7-on-7.
Mm-hmm.
So they kind of know it, and also the way they can communicate, but they've probably had experience with people that they know a little bit older and have, people that can hopefully get in their head and their ear to, steer them in the right way. But then also they got to be more business-like. I think the rule where you could bring, your parents, or, if you have a guardian on visits with you, to get them more acclimated to help you make a good decision. Unofficial visits are huge. People, you see a lot of, like here, Steve Warren, you saw where, he would take his kids around the Kansas States and all those places where they do 7-on, tournament, do all that. Abdul and his crew, they go and take college visits.
Mm-hmm.
The more that you put players or high school kids in these situations, they can make ideally a better initial decision.
Right.
Now recruiting, or these high school kids are looking at, okay, well, I got 2 options. I'm gonna go with this first one, and I always try to keep one in their back pocket. But I always say this, these young men, you make this decision first. You only worry about plan B when you have to worry about plan B. If you're showing up with plan A, which is to be hopefully everybody needs to be a Husker, and you're thinking about another school, which then affects how you react or interact with your coaches and teammates at any sign of adversity. You're doing yourself a disservice, Nebraska's a disservice, and whatever school you potentially could go to down the road, a disservice. Because when you do go into the portal, you're not I don't care what you say, you're not the same player that originally came out of high school. Ideally, you would like to have seen some growth, development on and off the field, and you're a better prospect going. That's not the norm. There's so many kids still in the portal. So many kids jump in the portal without a plan.
Mm-hmm.
Some are forced in the portal or aggressively encouraged. That's the day and age of college football. NIL helps that a little bit, especially when you're at a great place like Nebraska where everybody's kind of taken care of. But ultimately, that's where I think they need to have some sort of coalition to kind of help them navigate it, not just say, okay, well, I'll go talk to compliance and I got an email. All right, hey, I'm in the portal. That only lasts for like a couple hours and we're talking about it.
It absolutely does. And that's where I think we've had so many discussions about what's the best way to limit the transfer portal, what's the best way for schools and coaches and student athletes, whatever. The best way to do that is to find that balance between information overload up front. You can't give kids unlimited visits, but you have to make sure they have enough. And you have to make sure they have the right people around them. And you have to make sure the programs are not just putting on a good show, but being honest and truthful with these kids, because you can do anything that you want to put limits on the number of times you can transfer, the number of transfers a school can take, how they can get their NIL or not. You can try all that, but the best deterrent is going to be the natural deterrent of, to your point, young men and women making the best decision initially because they had all the information, advice, and trust relationships they needed ahead of time.
Right. It's a relationship. You go into the relationship and you deal with, you're committed 100%. Then if things change, then you I guess, pivot or make another decision. But you can't do it thinking like, okay, well, it came down to Nebraska and Missouri. I'm still, texting coaches from Missouri or texting players from Missouri while I'm at Nebraska. You won't even give yourself a chance to be the best that you can be. And ultimately, yes, kids are showing up and want to, get on the field within the first 2 to 3 years. But ultimately, what are your goals? Just to get on the field? Just to tweet out or Instagram out that you're on the field with a little, hashtag and some music? Or are you actually trying to be a better player and a better person? And then also it puts pressure on the teams. You got to be, one of the things I always say about Danny Smith, who's a special team coach at Pittsburgh, and I know we got to go to a break.
We can just wrap up the show. We'll call it.
Okay. He was as honest as he could be, and he was 99.9% honest as an NFL coach. That's why guys play for him. That's why guys trust him, because he's going to shoot you straight. So when it doesn't work out, he's telling you the truth, and you can deal with that. Where players lose respect or kind of things get hairy is you're selling them I would say you're peeing on them, telling it's raining. That's what it happens. I mean, we've heard it, here. Now, granted, there's some things you can't tell players because it's above their pay grade. But ultimately, you can be honest. Look,
players have to know enough, but not everything.
Yeah, and they shouldn't want to know everything because then that can mess up your whole
focus on football and school.
But you got to make sure when hey, what do I need to do to play? Can I realistically play here? If I'm not in the plans right now, will I ever be in the plans? There's nothing wrong with being completely honest. You know what I mean? I was talking about Jermaine Johnson. He goes to Georgia, right, from JUCO. Oddly enough, they should have recruited him here in Nebraska. He's Eden Prairie Eagle, so he goes to Georgia. They have all those first round picks. Well, then you get caught up in that mix of that you're in that weird age gap. Well, then he goes in the port, goes to Florida State. It works out. He goes number 11 in the draft. All the other guys like Nolan Smith and those guys, they go first round. Sometimes the numbers kind of get, jacked up where you have a ton of NFL players. And, you talk about what's the running back for the Saints? Man, 41. Alvin Kamara, right?
Yeah.
He was people don't even realize he was at Alabama.
Yeah.
He was at Alabama. And he transferred into Tennessee. Works out for him. He's gotten paid. He was great. Obviously, we saw him up close and personal. And all the Alabama players are doing it. So sometimes they have too many assets. and you got to do that, and there's nothing wrong with that. But anyways, it was a Thirsty Thursday. Big shout out to Kevin Meyer Cork and Bottle, Strick's Holiday. Great old school. We're turning it over to WTF. We got Strick and Clester doing their show. I think they're talking a little bit about Bronny and Jaylen Brown. Gilbert Arenas dropped some knowledge. Oh, Jaylen Brown, you went 5 for 26, brother. You know what I'm saying? Hey, like my grandma used to say, how soon they forget. But anyways, thank you guys for texting in, supporting old school. We're going to turn it over to WTF. We'll holler at you tomorrow.
Your sprinklers are watering the street or flooding your backyard. If you're on a list that doesn't exist, it's time for Judson Irrigation. At Judson Irrigation, Lee or Lacey or Judson will make an appointment. You pick the time and they'll be there to fix your sprinkler system. Now that's service, a dying art these days.
Keep summer green. Call Judson Irrigation 402-420-6277 or judsonirrigation.com.
Problem gambling affects millions of Americans daily, of all ages and walks of life. If your loved one is struggling with addiction, contact Choices Treatment Center's 24-hour helpline at 402-476-2300. That's 402-476-2300.
Empower a child today with the Teammates Mentoring Program. Hope is only a conversation away when you choose to